And then it was getting to the point where I wasn't sleeping and I was just still always drained, and I was starting to think, am I deficient? I went to check as well, and there was nothing wrong. I was actually so burnt out to the point where I started losing my memory, and that's when I was just
Really?
God can give you a very clear message to do something, and then because of how you feel about yourself, you will not do it. Because of dark skin, just black girls anyway, there was barely any of us, and just like stupid comments, and also being someone that really was validated by what people said, that narrative just really follows me. And I just had to, you can feel that something is bothering you. At the end of the day, pain is relative, trauma is relative. Anything that is causing you to be triggered or feel like you know when you feel like traumatized by something, something's carried with you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a Meta Space podcast. I'm so excited today because we have Peace here. She talks so much about self-love, personal development, and financial literacy. And personally, I've been a fan for years. Like, I've been following you since you started your business. I remember you supposed like these YouTube videos, like how to pack. Like, do you know the one that really helped me was the post office one, the click and collect, because I had no idea.
Aww.
So I've actually been like a big fan of your content for the longest time. So it's such an honor to have you on this podcast. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Great. You want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Okay. I am Peace. I make content online about personal development, self-love, finances, business, pretty much just anything about just kind of growing up, leveling up, especially in our 20s, because no one told us we're going to be just like this. But yeah, that's pretty much me. And I'm just kind of just figuring out literally life every day and showing what I know.
Great. So thank you so much for being here once again. So we'll dive straight in. Let's take it back a little bit. I think to really appreciate where you are now, we should kind of start from where you were before. And like I said, I've been a fan of your content for a long time. And I know you've made so much content about things you wish when you was younger. I think that's amazing. So what was Peace like when she was younger? What kind of trials and tribulations or feelings did you go through to make you feel like you need to give your younger self advice?
Oh, that's a good question. A good deep layers question. What kind of age range are we talking about? Because
I mean, when you make your videos, where was Peace at? What age was that? So
yeah, when I make my like younger self videos, it's normally to like 18 to 21.
Okay.
I feel like that's the age where you feel like a big woman, but you actually don't know anything.
Yeah.
Like you let the whole world tell you who you are, and for some of us anyway, we like went to uni. We're just starting to do more like big girl things.
Yeah.
But you really just don't know anything, and like we are still children at that age. In my eyes, I feel like 18 is still a child. I know
of course,
legally
I
you could
a
do.
child. I'm 26.
I'm 28. I'm like giving my Capri Sun. Honestly, I actually still feel like a child. But at that time, I felt like a big, big woman. And I think what's dangerous about that, I don't think I had as much of a heart to challenge my thoughts, because I just kind of felt like I didn't feel like I knew it all, but I just felt like at this age I should kind of have it figured out. So I wasn't as just open to being childlike in terms of I don't know anything. Let me just keep learning. Let me just keep having like a thirst for knowledge. Let me keep trying to work out why aren't things working out for me? Yeah. I wasn't as open to receiving new information, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So when you say you wasn't open to receiving new information, what does that mean? As in, you still wanted to like be not necessarily like a child, but in terms of like the self-development, when did that start to kick in?
That kicked in fully after a breakup.
Oh,
I think happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
You
got there quickly.
I needed to develop.
Yeah.
Whoa. Like I felt like my whole life was snatched like from underneath me, and I'm just like, clearly I did not have much self-worth in my own self for me to feel like my life is over because a person has gone. A person that I'd only known for 3-4 years, which is something.
It's a lot of time,
I came into the world without you.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been this far without you. Why now is like my whole life become you? I think at that point as well, my business was starting to pick up as well. So I was just like, I'm starting to notice gaps in my knowledge when it comes to the kind of life I want to create. Even the way I was showing up in the relationship, I 100% look back and be like, there were a lot of things I did that I could have done better. Same with the business. I was starting to be like, okay, if you want to create a certain life, you might need to learn how to be a better leader, learn how to be a better learner, like I said before. Just learn how to develop into the woman that you want to become. And then that's when I just went heavy, and it just so happened as well to be around like COVID times.
Oh, okay.
So there weren't nothing else to do anymore.
That's quite recent then, isn't it?
For me to get really heavy into it was like late 2020, early 2021. When I really like delved into it.
Wow, that is so it all like stemmed from breakup, which is good because you do a lot of self-reflection after like losing, because breakup I see it as grief. So after that you do a lot of self-reflection. So what steps did you start to take in order to start becoming the woman that you wanted to be and to show up as like the woman that you are today? What was like the process like?
I think first and foremost was just getting really honest with myself. I feel like self-awareness is it sounds like very like fluffy and surface level, just be self-aware, but like the honest conversations, like that kind of ugly side we don't really want to address. And that's everything from like comparison, jealousy, bitterness, resentment. I realized I have and I'm still working on it, like a really tough unforgiveness problem where I can say I forgive someone in theory, but the feelings of like
it's still there.
Yeah.
When you see that person, you're like,
I still want to tussle.
I remember,
literally. And I was like, I don't want to live a life like that. I started to have really honest conversations with myself, like, is this conducive with who I want to become? What is the outcome of me like dwelling on this thought? What is the outcome of me like keeping this way of being? And that's when I was just like, this isn't it. And I think that as I started to absorb a lot of information in terms of self-help and stuff, I realized that basically all the books are saying the same thing. I don't know if you've ever heard of this formula, be, do, have.
Yeah.
So I think they basically are all saying that in some way, shape or form, which is that whatever you want to have is going to be determined by what you do, but what you do is going to determine by who you're being. And who you're being is all about like your thoughts and your feelings and your character. So when I started like focusing on that, and with the character aspect of it, it's just like what thoughts and feelings are governing the way I'm being, because I feel like every character trait we have is because we believe a certain thing, like whether
about ourselves,
about the world, about people. So all those like wounds you have about not trusting people, for example,
where did that come from?
Exactly. So just having those really honest conversations, starting to pinpoint things. And it's like I used to think this whole like glow up journey, level up thing was really complicated. I think people make it sound like there's so many steps you need to follow. There's a rule book, there's a formula.
But it's not.
I think it's not. I think it's just about noticing your wounds, your blind spot, and being able to have like a better conversation with yourself inside. Because what I realize is that even if we don't realize it, basically everything we do is a series of questions and answers that we're giving ourselves. Like we have this internal dialogue that's ruling the show. Like when you reached out to me about this podcast, I could have had an internal dialogue that was just like, I'm not even good enough to go on something like this. Why would I say yes? Why? But even if I have that now, I'll just be able to be like, relax. It's not and true. Just move it. Like I just know how to observe it and not identify with it.
Exactly.
So I think the more that I just started to read this stuff, I was just like, I was able to have a better conversation in my head and just be able to pick up on triggers, pick up on
cues,
habits.
Like, why do you think this way? And do you know what you reminded me? I read this book called The Chimp Paradox.
I've never actually read it, but I've heard good things.
It's so good, and it's helped me like determine what are feelings and what are facts. It's exactly what you're saying. Some things are like pure fact, and some things are just like feelings, and it sounds like you rationalize them. So like when you said, oh, I invited you to come to the podcast, some people could be like, oh, what do I have to, like, what is of value that I could say? But really that's not a fact. Like somebody wouldn't invite you to be in their space to learn from you if you didn't have value to bring. So it's all about separating the facts to what are feelings, and if you can like determine what they are, then you should be able to work on that for self-development, I think.
I agree. I think there's just, I think as well I started to realize that beyond what's facts and feelings, everything is made up. Like everyone's opinion is about your opinion. Like so if you see value in me that I don't see in myself, why am I gonna force you to see things the way I see things? I'm just like, hey, you see value in having a conversation with me. Hey ho, like I literally still have these feelings. Like even when you read out the introduction, I'm just like I'm not even doing nothing like that. Like
you really are.
Thank you. Like I know that I've achieved things, and I know that I've grown, and I'm proud of where I've grown. But sometimes I do think that people over egg me more than I see the value in myself. But I just don't let that feeling dictate what I say yes to, what I say no to, or how I respond. Now I'll just say thank you. Whereas back in the day, I'll try to self-deprecate and be like, oh no. And I just keep quiet. I say thank you.
Take the blessing.
Honestly.
So it's like I said, you really are doing a lot in, especially like the content creation space and self-development. Like I said, I've been following you for a long time. So you really are doing a lot. So what advice would you actually give to Black women that are out there? Because I feel like as Black women, we always have this stigma that we have to be strong, independent, and we suffer from a lot of mental health. We might not recognize it, but we do. But from somebody that's in that journey of becoming the best version of themselves and they really want to show up as her, what step by, like, I know you said it's not as hard as it thinks, but just starting off, how can they actually just start and get out of that rut that they're feeling right now?
Yeah. So you mean rut in terms of how they're feeling about themselves?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, where would I start? I think really getting to pinpoint the narratives that have shaped the things about them. Sorry, pinpointing the narratives that have shaped the things that are holding them back right now. So even when we were talking before, one of the things that came to mind about how, when I say it's just people's opinions, like, I just don't, starting to realize that this whole world is run on vibes. It's actually run on opinion. So someone's truth is their truth. Your truth can be your truth. Everyone's just making it up. Like, you know, people say the thing about whether you believe you can or can't is true.
Yeah.
Or whether you have fear or faith. Neither of them have happened. They're just all like an expectation of what's to come, whether good or bad. And I think there are so many narratives, especially as Black women, that society tried to enforce on you.
Yes.
Narratives like one of the ones that I've had to really, really work on and still bothers me till this day is the whole being dark-skinned women.
Oh my gosh, girl. That is a whole nother
topic.
It
is so deep rooted. That's why when like people have these colorism things and it's just like, this stuff is so deep rooted. Even if you cancel them people, they're still gonna have the thoughts. Like, it's so deep rooted. I literally went to a primary school with, I want to say like 2-3 Black girls in my year max. Talks of dark skin, just Black girls anyway. There was barely any of us. And just like stupid comments and also being someone that really was validated by what people said. That narrative just really follows me. And I just had to, it was only really when I went to therapy earlier this year, and I've done therapy before, but it was only this year when I realized how much this had affected so many things in my life till date. Because of some Billy in year 3. Honestly.
I've been there because in primary school, my primary school was an all Black primary school.
It wasn't all Black. Oh, okay.
But secondary school, when primary school I was living in Edmonton, so it's predominantly a lot of Black people there. But I went to secondary school in Hertfordshire, and I was like, and Hertfordshire at that time, it still is really a racist area.
Is it still?
Yeah, and that's when I was like really exposed to like being like, in primary school I didn't actually realize I was dark skinned. I knew I was Black. It sounds crazy in my head, but I knew I was Black, of course, but I wasn't exposed to like dark skin, light skin, because there was just so much Black people. No one really commented on race. When I went to secondary school and everybody was like, wow, like the word Black, ugly, like the amount of bullying I received. But you're right, it really does follow you, and you don't really realize until you step back and be like, why more of my rationale would have, like, the reason why I think in the way that I think would probably be exposed more, and it'll probably be down to trauma, bullying and things like that. So you're definitely right, it does follow you. So how do you then kind of, you know, I know therapy is one thing, but for example, not everybody can afford therapy.
No, 100%.
How do you then like recognize that you actually have trauma and start to be in that position you're going to actively work to get out of that space?
I feel like it is very, very hard. And I feel like with trauma, one of the key things I had to realize to not do is to like do trauma Olympics, which is when like you can feel that something is bothering you. At the end of the day, pain is relative, trauma is relative. Anything that is causing you to be triggered or feel like you know when you will feel like traumatized by something, something's carried with you. So someone could say, yeah, being Black is not, it's not deep, it's just a word, but That was trauma to me.
That is trauma. It's still trauma. Yeah.
Literally.
When I hear that word, I'm like,
even when you said it, literally,
like, oh.
honestly, like
Yeah.
it's trauma. So I'm not gonna compare. I know things are on paper so much worse in the world, but I'm never gonna rob myself of the opportunity to heal that wound because someone else is going through worse. Someone else today is going through worse. Some people will be like, oh yeah, but you're listen.
Yeah.
My inner child is still crying.
Exactly. It's true.
Okay,
it's true.
we're working on drying her tears. And I'm just not like, do not rob yourself of that opportunity to listen to all these things that are coming up. So I think that is like a really, really key part. And then with therapy, I recognize that not everyone can can afford therapy, but if there's any sort of access you can get to something like that, whether that's through work or anything, or my hack back in the day was watching therapists on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
They give you a lot.
Okay.
And so sometimes you might have to do some of the exercises by yourself, but you got to realize that when you go to therapy,
you have to do it by yourself anyway.
They're giving you a script.
Yeah.
Basically, they see the same 5 problems come every 3 hours.
Yeah, it's true.
And they're basically saying the same thing to everyone. Like, our problems, even though to us they feel very unique and we've got all these other variables, in the grand scheme of things, like the categories they fall into are very repetitive. So there's some really, really good therapists on YouTube. And they will tell you, like, I was literally watching one this morning about like how to regulate your nervous system, get out of like fight or flight. Yeah, because when you're just constantly in survival mode, you're ready to attack the world, but sometimes just rest. Yeah, as a woman, just
relax.
Rest. Yeah, honestly,
I'm just a girl.
literally. I feel like the world is just very fight or flight. I feel like London's very fight or flight.
It is. London's you're always in like
mode.
Anxiety mode. I feel like really, even working, like you're always in anxiety. And it's like, when do you actually have time to just like, when like just be in one line, like linear, just so still and relaxed. I feel like it's really hard to do that in London.
And it's not even taught. Even resting. Like,
how do people
talk about resting. Resting is not even just sleeping. There's like mental rest, emotional rest, spiritual rest,
physical rest.
Every type of rest that we need. And like, most of the time, everyone just thinks of physical rest, and even that they're not getting enough of. And you wonder why we're all stressed, and all burnt out, and all angry, and bad vibes.
Exactly.
It's like, what's gonna happen?
I remember, I forgot this TikToker name, but she's like, she was kept explaining that she's always tired all the time, and she gets so much sleep. She even went to go and do like like a blood test to see if she's got any like deficiency, and she came back all positive, like everything is good, like you should be good because you're healthy. And I'm just thinking, if you're sleeping and everything is good, why are you just so tired? But you're right, there's different sorts of rest that people need 100%. To take, and I completely forgot that there's actually like the mental rest and everything that you need to do, and spiritual rest, like there's so much that you could possibly be doing, and it could really affect yourself.
Honestly. Do you feel like you've ever been exposed to a good teaching about burnout from a younger age?
No.
Or you had to be burnt out to learn what burnout
exactly
was?
Yeah, I never even knew there was a such thing as if I'm
into our
burnout. And when I was even burnt out, I didn't know that was burnout.
How did you find out?
I think I heard like burnout on social media somewhere, like people said, I've been burnt out, I don't want to work for like 6 months, I've been tired, this and that. And I'm like, when they started explaining the feelings that they're feeling, I was like, all right, I can actually relate to this. And then I realized it actually is burnout. What's the other one? There's burnout and there's another one, I forgot.
What is it? What's the meaning of it?
I completely forgot. But I have experienced burnout before, but a lot of people like myself didn't recognize them burnout, and they still carry on, and they just get to the point where it's like you're just like done. Like, you don't want to do anything, you're done. You can't even wake, you can't get out of bed, you can't reply back to your friends. And that's exactly what happened to me. And it's really sad because no one teaches us about this, and they just expect you to like get up and keep going because we're meant to be strong, we're meant to be independent, we're meant to get about our money. But really, who's telling you that you need to do all of this?
That's the thing.
Like, where did this come from?
And it's just like, for me, it was a very similar thing as well, because I've always had certain like anemia, deficiency. Like, I was always sleeping. Everyone used to I used to sleep everywhere. I was that girl that was always sleeping everywhere. But it got to a point where it was like, no matter how much I was sleeping, I was still like always drained.
Yeah.
And then it was getting to a point where I wasn't sleeping and I was just still always drained. And I was starting to think, am I deficient? I went to check as well, and there was nothing wrong. I was actually so burnt out to the point where I started losing my memory, and that's when I was just
really,
like,
wow,
so bad. But it's just like that toxic, either the toxic hustle culture, I think
yes,
runs into it as well, and then just not having enough conversation about
mm,
why it's important to take care of yourself.
mm-hmm,
And I want to make it like very clear, because I'm very ambitious. I
mm-hmm,
love working on things,
mm-hmm.
but finding a way to adapt that to you in a way that's actually sustainable, because the goals that you're working for, it won't work when you're doing
Yeah,
it.
and
You're
you're
pouring from an
tired.
empty cup, literally.
Yeah.
Like, you have to fill yourself up. You have to find a way to like rebalance yourself, because even lately I've started learning a lot more about like a woman's cycle and when to slow
Yes.
down and stuff based
Yeah.
on that. And again, we're not taught about that. We're just
You're
basically taught that
not.
our cycle was
28 days.
no,
You're
it's just
on.
like those 7 days that you bleed or
Yeah,
whatever, and that's
exactly.
it.
And then that's it. It
But
comes
there's like,
again in the next one.
there's literally four
There's a lot
phases.
of emotions that go into it.
Yeah.
You know, that's one thing that
There's
I've
so much that you
realized.
can adapt based on where you are. Like, and it's just like there's so much we're not exposed to.
Yeah.
I think, like I was saying earlier, it's just like now that I'm more open to information, open to realizing that I don't have this figured out. I'm older, but I still feel like a child, and I'm approaching everything I'm learning like a child. A lot more information's going in, and I'm
Yes.
able to pick the things
And
that
can react to it
yeah,
and
like actually
knowing how
implement
to
it,
do
pick the
it.
things that actually resonate, because again, information overload. You don't want to be trying everything. You don't do
Yes.
anything.
Yes.
But yeah, just really starting to try out different things
Exactly.
and find
Yeah.
what works. Yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned this hustle culture because it's really big on
Yeah.
social media that you need to work hard to reap the benefits. And I was definitely like that. Like you, I'm very ambitious.
Yeah.
I do feel like I work really hard, but also I had to ask myself, like, where did that come from? And when I did a lot of self-awareness, it came from like a scarcity mindset. Like, if I don't work hard, then I'm not gonna have the life that I want to live. But it's like, why do I think like that? Why do not just me? I'm sure there's a lot of other
No, 100%.
Black women out there that think
100%.
like you need to work hard to get this money or to get this dream house or whatever. And it's like, no, not really, because at the end of the day, what's meant to be for you would be for you. And I'm a Christian, I know you are too,
Yeah.
but if you trust that God will take you to the place you would want to be, of course you need to work, but also trust that when you're resting, it's going to happen too.
Yeah.
So
Would you say that your scarcity mindset came from feeling scarce about the world's opportunities, or feeling scarce about yourself as a person?
What do you mean?
So you know how scarcity mindset is feeling like not enough.
Yeah, not enough.
So do you feel like there's not enough opportunities in the world, or do you feel like you are not enough, and that's what pushes you to hustle culture?
I think it's a bit of both, you know. Even till this day, I struggle to like think that there's not a lot of opportunity for me. Even like making this, if I'm going to be completely honest, making this whole podcast is like, is there really a space for this? Or it could even be deeper in myself, like, am I enough? So I think it's definitely a bit of both, and it just, when there's a bit of both, it just like a big bomb, you know,
no,
and then you get
100%.
scared. And I'm telling you, Melispace has been on the works for a year, but because of all like the anxiety about it, I haven't done nothing. And so now
you're here now.
I know exactly.
Well done.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of both, and it is a work in progress. But like you said, as long as you recognize it and you know that it's just feelings and it's not actually facts, you should be able to like pick yourself up and keep it moving.
Do you feel like you're able to pick up on those triggers when they come up? And that's literally all it comes down to, is literally just
Definitely.
like, because I used to be like that as well, be like, when you have this self-awareness, like, what do you do with it? But it's like, you just choose another way. Like, you just decide, eventually you start to build a narrative. Because once you work out what your outdated narratives are, you start to just implement new ones. Because like I said, everyone's making it up.
Exactly.
So I'm making it too. Like, you know? So whoever said I'm not good enough, I say, you know what? I hear you, but I decided I am good enough today. And it's like literally like, who's telling you that? Who's gonna check me? Literally, like, everything I've done is just because I literally just had the audacity. That business I started, when I tell you, it was literally just one day I was like, I'm gonna sell this. You know? And like in 3 weeks, I just got it set up, and I was just like, what am I doing? Literally, after I did it, I was kind of like, oh, I did this very fast, but it's just because I allowed myself that room to be like, what is the worst that's gonna happen?
Exactly.
Who says that this is, even if it doesn't work, like, what's the worst that's gonna happen?
Exactly.
I think you're just starting to get more rational with these thought processes and these dialogues. Every single trigger that comes up, and I still have many, I can just rationalize with it a lot better.
Exactly.
Because it's just like, it's all made up.
Yeah, it is
it's
all
actually
made
all
up.
made
It
up.
really
Like,
is. It really is.
all
It's like, who is
made
actually
up.
telling you this information.
Yeah.
No one's saying it. And like you said, no one's going to check for you.
Literally.
No one's going to check if you actually achieved that goal.
Literally.
So it's like, why do we put that pressure on ourselves? Where does it come from? Why do we do it? And why do we let it dictate how you want to live your life?
No, literally.
So many questions. I'm just opening it up here. But it's literally...
No, I think one thing I realized, like very, very recently, actually, is it's really helped me being able to like name my wounds. So you know how we could pinpoint, like, is that primary school wounds or secondary school wound for you?
Yeah.
For me, it was more primary school with the whole dark skin thing. Being able to name your wounds, because I think a lot of people talk about mummy issues, daddy issues, but like I said, everything's made up. If someone has diagnosed mummy issues and daddy issues as a thing, so it's like it's useful to have it there as a tool. But if you have neighbor issues, then call it neighbor issues. Like, you can name whatever your wound is, because just because it's not, you don't hear as many people speak about it. You're the only person that's lived your life. If your cousin did you so dirty when you were a child and that's still following you, you've got cousin issues. It's not that when it comes up in your head, you can just be like, okay, that's my cousin issues. Because the people that have healed their daddy issues, most of the time, making it up, make one up too
for yourself.
Honestly,
It's literally
I realized like I have a bit of a sister wound, and like I never heard of it, but apparently it's actually a thing. But people more speak about it from like friendships and stuff, like when friendships with other women. But for me, it was actually like a sister wound, and I just felt like this is very useful to know, because I started realizing how it was kind of following me up in life, and how I kind of had I would hold myself back from being a leader, which is another reason why I was kind of shy. And when you say all the things about the things I've done, it's like I still see myself as a little sister that kind of got abandoned a bit, and it's just like, that's my sister wound playing up. But now I can name it and just be like,
and you know how to react.
I
to
can just
it.
rationalize with it and just speak to it. And it doesn't even have to be in a like. Sometimes I'm just like, literally move. I've got things to do. But sometimes I can actually just show her love, like the person that was abandoned. Same way with daddy. When people speak about daddy issues, the way you would speak to yourself if you had daddy issues, you will probably show her love and just be like, you're loved. Just because your dad didn't want you doesn't mean no one wants you. It doesn't mean you don't have worth. Those same things that you need to just like. But then sometimes you, maybe with the daddy issues, you're about to go for like a raggedy man, and you're just like, I'm not letting you. You know, so you can talk to it. You can just talk to it in different ways depending on the situation. But it's just like allowing your healing journey to be one for yourself, and not social media can help 100%. All of this stuff
There's a lot
can
of
help,
false information out there.
That too. People, like I said, everyone's making things up.
That's what I'm saying, because it's being made up. And they should do what you do, really, like go on YouTube and look at actual therapy that is out there, giving out, you know, advice that has come from like somebody that's trained to do it. And it's not something that's made up and they've put a name onto it, and then you kind of seek validation
100%,
in that. So I completely agree. So I saw a video some time ago that you made, and it was about manifestation in Christianity.
Ooh,
yes.
You're going there.
Yes. And I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say this, like I said, I'm a Christian myself.
Yeah.
And there was a time, I would say a year ago or so, I was in a church that I used to go to, and they were asking me like, how did I do something? I forgot what it was. I'm like, oh, I manifested it and it came.
Yeah.
And they're like, that, do you know that's evil?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean it's evil? And it made me feel so bad, like I was going against God.
Yeah.
And then from that point, I always had thought, okay, manifesting is not, it doesn't come from God. You're basically giving power to something else. And that was my mind thought until I saw your video.
Oh, wow.
And
Ooh,
your video, yes. I was like, the way you kind of, like the things that you said, and you were saying like even helping books, they all come from like, they're all biblical. And the way you were stating it, I was like, oh my gosh, so I wasn't wrong for what I said. Like, oh, I manifested this. It's not, the kind of sort of like you're worshipping something else.
Oh, it's such a sticky
And
one.
I was just like, I felt so guilty.
Oh.
So how did you kind of, first of all, like, did you get any clashback from that? Because I know that's because I know it's controversial. It's very controversial. Because I personally think what you said was right.
Yeah.
And before, when I made that comment, when that person made that comment, I changed my rationale. Like, okay, maybe it might be evil. I'd be like, oh no, I wouldn't think what you're saying was right. But now that I'm more older and I understand, I definitely think what you said was the right thing. So yeah, did you get any was it any controversial from that? And how did you what made you get to that point that is not actually like that?
Oh gosh. I wasn't even expecting you to ask about that.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm so passionate about this.
Yes.
Because I think one of the biggest things in my faith journey, healing journey, everything we've spoken about, everything I speak about was realizing the power of my thoughts and realizing the responsibility to be a good steward over my thoughts. And I think what I was getting at with the video, and I'm so glad you were able to receive what I was saying, because I think a lot of people were trying to say that I think a lot of people thought that I was promoting like new age practices.
Oh,
and
okay.
Which, yeah, and I was just like, you guys are, because I literally said in the beginning of the video, in the beginning of the essay where you said, in this essay to define this.
Yeah.
For this essay, manifestation is when your thoughts become your feelings, your feelings become your actions become your
reality.
results.
Yeah.
God can give you a very clear message to do something. And then because of how you feel about yourself, you will not do it. I.e., the thought you have about yourself will cause you to have a feeling of anxiety that will stop you from taking the action to get the result. You just said that it happened with the podcast in the beginning.
Yes.
It's happened with so many ideas and things I had until we started to fight back with these thoughts, be a good steward of these thoughts, and make the feeling, make the action become.
Yes.
So the thing is, that can either happen, that's going to happen whether you are intentional about it or not. So some people just have thoughts that work in their favor. Some people just naturally have that confidence. Some people naturally have those things. If you know that you're having issues that are holding you back, thoughts and beliefs about yourself, about the world, all those things we discuss, holding you back, you need to be more intentional about stewarding your thoughts. That could be through journaling. It could be through therapy. It could be through having a vision board, whatever. That is all manifestation is. And what I was saying is that the point I was getting is that all these books, these titles they've given, at the end of the day, manifestation is just a word.
Yeah, it is.
It's just a word of thoughts becoming
another thing that's been made up now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everything's been made up. But what I was getting at is the fact that this has actually come from the Bible, and even Christians are not even realizing the importance of being intentional about stewarding their thoughts. So they're actually onto something. But what has happened is that people caught on to that. This process worked because biblical principles work.
Yeah.
This process worked. Let's add a little
our own theory.
Yes, now
it up a little bit.
Yeah, dressed it up. They're gonna bring the props, the spells, the crystal, and they're making more noise about it.
What's these crystal things?
People use it so many things. And I'm like, listen, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But I think people thought that's what I was promoting. And I'm like, no, they're just loud about this process that's in the Bible.
Yeah.
And that the process, the principle works. I think one of the key parts of my faith journey was realizing that with Christianity, with the faith, the Bible, it teaches you the principles of Christ and it teaches you the person of Christ. A lot of us know the person of Christ, but not the principles. And we're not asking the principles of praying to Christ, nothing lands you. God, why are you not there? He's there. I told you what to do, you're not doing it.
Yeah.
The Bible literally says a man's thought, like as a man thinks, so he is. There's a whole book. I don't know if you heard it, like a self-help book, As a Man Thinketh, So He Is.
No, I haven't heard of that.
There's literally a book like based on a biblical verse. And I'm like, these people are, and some of the manifestation people will be quoting these books, quoting these. So many of these people literally quote the Bible. If you read like Think and Grow Rich, there's so many biblical verses in there. It's like,
but then they just jazz it up and kind of hide it.
That's the thing. I think the lines can get blurred is if you're selfish with your intentions. But again, that's not manifestation because you can be selfish with setting goals. But no one says setting goals is evil or witchcraft, right? Exactly. It's just the way you go about it. If I set a goal based on God has told me to start this business, and I'm going to set a goal to grow it by X, whatever, to try to steward this, to keep me structured. Is that me being selfish? It's a very I think it's all about just keep working your heart and making your heart in the right place. The way I manifest, I don't take the glory for it. I never come out and say I did this all by myself. Like I know it's God.
It's God.
Literally, but all I recognize is I need to be intentional about the thoughts and feelings I need to steward, need to foster up in order to make this thing a reality. With content, for a very long time, every time I posted, I wanted to vomit.
Really?
Oh. I wanted to vomit.
Yes.
But I'm like, how many times have you hear people say how important it is to have a personal brand? I actually enjoy it.
must have
some
had like
people
the
just,
first few
yeah, they
seconds
heard the
and
word
thought,
and they said,
oh,
oh,
no.
Holy Jesus,
Yeah,
I said, listen, I'm on your side.
I remember
But-
one comment was like, just pray.
And I'm just
I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
you kind of missed the point. It's
Yeah,
like people
you
fairly
definitely missed the point.
But
Yeah.
I get it. What I did take away from that, where I was just like, you know what? Fair. I probably wasn't as sensitive because some people have fallen into the trap of the new age stuff. So they're triggered by the trade-off between, but I'm like, I'm saying it's biblical.
Yeah.
The foundation of what manifestation actually is biblical, but they're hearing the props and the spells and this, and some Christians have fallen into that trap, or some people have come out of that world and have experienced like really scary things as a result of that, and then they get triggered by it. So I'm like, you know what, fair enough. I would probably, if I was ever gonna have like speak about that again, I'll put more emphasis on the fact that very, very clearly, manifestation is only that formula. Anything people add to it is people adding to it. It's not what manifestation truly was.
Make it clear, what is that formula again? So that
thoughts become feelings.
Yes.
Feelings become actions. Actions become result. Whether
Exactly.
you're intentional
And that's what it is.
about it or not,
Yeah,
that is
that is
happening.
what it is. Yeah.
Like you can look back at anything you're doing in your life, and there's going to be a thought or feeling that's coming while you're doing it, or why you're doing it the way you're doing it. So it's like you can either let that run in the background on autopilot, or you can be more intentional about making the thoughts and feelings be conducive to what you want it to be. So yeah, it's I just would, I'll probably be more sensitive about, like, I get it, you might have fallen into that trap, but that ain't what I'm talking about.
The video wasn't even about that.
Speak about no crystal, leave me alone.
Like I said, it literally changed the way I felt about manifest. Because like I said, I felt so bad when that girl told me, you're literally worshipping the devil. Like, it came from manifesting is coming from the devil because you're giving energy to something that's not God. And I was just like,
people don't,
and then from that point, I was just like, oh my gosh, like I can't do it anymore. I can't speak it into the. And I was like, and then when I saw that video, I was like, wow, this is what I thought it should be. So why is it people telling me it's evil? So
it's crazy.
I completely.
I think even people say like affirmations and visualization is. It's like you do realize when you're telling yourself over and over again in your head, you're ugly.
Yeah,
that is an affirmation.
That is an affirmation.
So I'm gonna choose my own affirmations. So I'm saying all these things are happening. You're doing them anyway.
Yeah.
So you might as well be intentional about it. You're visualizing anyway. You replay that image of someone leaving you or abandoning you. You're visualizing.
Yeah.
So let me visualize
a better
positive.
Exactly. Something better.
Someone comes to love me.
Something negative. Yeah.
And some people, if genuinely though, if someone genuinely believes that what I'm saying is demonic, if you think therapy is demonic, if you think, and we just don't agree, and that's fine. But I think there are genuinely a lot of people that would agree with what I'm saying if they would like not allow themselves to convulse when they hear the word.
And just go with it with an open mind, and not because when you enter something with a closed mind, naturally you're going to just think the opposite of that person. So just be more open with your thoughts, and that's not to say be open but don't think of God. It's like still be open, but just put God into it. You know what I mean? Yeah,
like it should all be God led. To me, I feel like every day I pray like, God, align my desires with yours. So I really don't feel like I'm so separate from God as well. Like, I'm trying to foster myself to become as much like him as possible, to think like him, to do things like him, and then pray. If I'm praying to him and asking him to align my desires, and I have to trust that the things I want, especially when I can really think about why do I want these things, and I can justify the impact it will have on other people, or even just make me be a better person to show up for the world.
Yeah.
Then literally,
why not?
Literally.
It's all right. So I saw you posted a video which again resonated with me. About when you set goals, think of the vision, not the goals, if I'm right. And the reason why it resonated with me, I read a book called Atomic Habits, and it's exactly what you said. And I used to be a person that will set goals but not envision myself reaching those goals. So what is the process of actually setting a vision but not the actual goal itself?
Yeah, and it's not, I think, if I'm like remembering the right video, I don't think I was like, I do believe goals have a place, have a time and place, but it's like if it's not connected to a bigger vision, you're gonna really struggle either to stick to it or even to recognize when God wants you to pivot. Because I think one thing that I realized that I used to do a lot is get attached like the vehicle, and rather than the vision. So there's so many different ways of getting to a certain place. If we say that, I think the vision everyone kind of has is to be like wealthy, financially secure, abundant. there are so many ways of getting there.
Yeah.
And one way of getting there might work for you in a certain season, and in another season, God might want you to take another path. And it's like, if you're just holding on to the vehicle, which is what I was doing for a long time with my business, when I was just like this, it wasn't feeling aligned anymore.
Yes.
Getting attached to the vehicle, getting attached to the goal, and just like wanting to keep scaling it for the sake of scaling. It's just like, what is the end goal here? If I didn't have the vision of also, how do I want to feel? I think for me, a vision is a big part of vision. A big way of getting to the depths of your vision is like knowing how you want to feel. And a lot of times you'll realize that the goals you were going for are just one small way of getting to that feeling that you're going for. Because pretty much every goal we set anyway is because we want to get a certain feeling. But if you really pinpoint what that feeling is, it's going to help you to like release control. Because I think as well, like, one of the biggest mistakes I made was trying to be in control of all my goals. And from a spiritual perspective, that's very counterproductive. You're not even letting God in. Even from just like a mental,
it's a lot.
It's so much. I'm just a girl.
Yeah,
I don't know what I'm
doing. What are you doing?
Like, I don't even give myself room to like figure things out or to let things move or shift. It was like, it's this way or this way. When this way wasn't slapping, it's just like, and it's just so limited.
Yeah.
It's so limited. So I think, with vision, a big part of it is your spiritual practice anyway. And that's just such a big part of everything for me. The more you, I think, have your own personal relationship with God, or some people, is like they believe more in their intuition, and I think that is a step in the right direction. The more you just kind of look inwards and try to block out outward noise and think like, what am I truly being led to? Like, when you envision and this is why like trauma work is so important. When you envision like your higher self, like the version of you that isn't wounded or traumatized or working based on outdated narratives, what does that person want to do? Like, what does that person feel led to? What things in the world really anger their soul? What problems really shake them to solve? Like, those are the things that I feel like you'll start to just pick up on. You start to think like, what kind of family do I want to have? Do I want to have a family of my own? What kind of life do I want to live? And why do I want to live that kind of life? Does that align with the principles and morals I've decided to live my life by? That's the kind of way I started to really look at it and just be like, oh. And I think another big thing that really stuck with me recently was like, I think we're very much in the habit of, with like being ambitious, being up all in this level up world. We like to just add goals.
Yes.
Add. I want to.
Removing
it's all that trauma, which is why the healing stuff is so important. Like, there's just so much the world has added onto us that God never intended. God didn't intend us to think that blick should make us shake at the age of in our 20s. Like,
listen,
like, this is the work that removal stuff is so important. Like, even seeing what your vision is, because if that baggage that was never supposed to be there is governing your life, or if you're not able to at least make a distinction between what needs to go, even if it's still there, just at least make the distinction that you're there, you can reside for a bit, but you're on your way out. At least be able to make that distinction, because then you're not setting your goals from that place. Which is why I asked you like what your scarcity was coming from, because I know for me, my scarcity, for a lot more of it was kind of more about scarcity about myself than it was about the world. Like, I feel like I've always kind of felt like there's a lot of opportunity in the world.
I feel like I get that vibe from you.
But about myself, it was scarcity mindset. I was just like, I'm not enough of this. I'm not that enough. I don't have this. I don't have that. I wasn't born.
It's a lot. It's a lot that you're holding.
It's just that, that stuff doesn't need to be there. But if I was thinking from that perspective, then how am I going to have a vision?
That's true.
I'm going to be like, see my vision from the lens of you're not enough. And I'm probably going to cap myself at something God does not want to even cap me at. So really thinking through, what feeling do I want to be led to, and what am I being pulled to, that my sculpted self. Because I don't believe in that whole like reinvent yourself from scratch. You don't need to like download a new personality. It's just doing a little audit and just just really like pass the parcel, you know.
Self-awareness
No,
and
just like
like
just remove
smart.
the layers. Yeah, remove layers
to get to your
and
true self.
make distinctions between what's supposed to be there and what's not. So
Yeah.
even if it's there, at least just know that you're just an unwanted guest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing that. Like, I'm actually thinking, wow. Like, I've never thought of putting like feelings. It sounds so simple and something that you should do, but who actually does it?
No,
like putting
100%.
feelings into your goals. Like, actually, when you achieve that goal, what do you want to feel like?
Yeah.
Is very like the fundamental goal. So thank you for sharing that. So moving to the topic of money, besides creating content about self-development and everything, you also discuss money, which I think is amazing. And you discuss money in a way that is easy to understand and is digestible. So thank you for that. I think it's very important for women, especially Black women, to have some sort of financial literacy, because a lot of the things that we do with money, how we make money, is not really learned in school. It's things that we've taught ourselves.
Found the topic of money that quite interesting. Definitely not literate.
Yeah.
I was just curious with no sense about it. I think to an extent, actually, I would say like I probably had a bit more awareness of like the way money works in the world, the economy, stocks, markets. But when it came to my own management, no. I definitely was like running on vibes for a very, very long time. But I kind of feel like when you're younger, your priorities are quite different. I don't know if I regret it, because I feel like up until I feel like you're allowed to decide when it becomes a priority, and it just wasn't a priority for me until I was like 23, 24. Some people, you hear them 18-year-old millionaires. This wasn't my story, and I had a good time. We were just talking about Afro Nation before this. I won't be literate when I booked that ticket. I had a great time. Great early 20s. So I don't really have any regrets, to be honest. I feel like you're allowed to decide when you're like, you know what?
It's time.
It's time.
Where you do more self-awareness. It's time to get serious.
100%. So I really always hoped that anyone who like watching my money, especially money content, scroll if it doesn't matter. If you don't, it's okay. Like I don't think everyone has to care. I don't think everyone should never care. But I don't think everyone has to care at every stage of life. Sometimes, and even when you're older, you might just get to have a year. I know someone who was like in his 30s and was just like, you know what, this year I'm gonna do me.
Why not?
Some people just go heavy on saving some years. It's just you're allowed to decide. You're actually allowed to decide.
That's really good. So, in terms of money, what do you think is the most important thing we should understand about it?
Oh wow, most important thing
that we should just understand how, not necessarily how to make money, but understand it in general for it to work.
I think, and I know this can be quite triggering, I think a lot of people think of their money. Can I choose two?
Yeah, of course. Why not?
Okay, so the first one will be like understanding your money stories. So kind of like with the healing stuff we were talking about earlier, there's a lot of stories we have about money, and that is just such a massive part of what your financial situation looks like. Again, not the only part, absolutely not the only part, and this is probably going to apply more to people in countries where there's more room for moving around and moving out of the way you were born. That doesn't mean it's easy, that doesn't mean it's whatever, but there's more room that compared to some people that have like no access to internet, for example. So knowing your money stories is very, very important. I think especially as like Black women, especially as like children of immigrant parents, or if you're immigrant yourself, where we're coming from survival. A lot of us are coming from survival, so let me not generalize. And that is gonna really filter in. When I tell you, it's not really the same for me now because I'm not like in a traditional job, but the idea of asking for a raise makes me feel sick.
Yeah.
And that's a very normal part
Yeah.
of working. And I'm just like, but the way I was brought up to almost like be grateful for what I was given, and it's almost like everything that I have in the country is like a blessing kind of mindset. Like I even owe them.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't even be asking for this, like giving them some of it back or something.
Yeah.
And that mindset, like these money stories, but like I said earlier, even if it's still in my head, I can just choose a different thing and be like, no, we ask
I
it
don't
for that
choose
raise, you know?
to think like that. Yeah, but ask for that raise. Yeah.
Literally, yeah. I think that is a really, really important one. Oh, what was I gonna say? I don't know.
It'll come back.
Yeah, what was I gonna say? I thought it was something to do with like making money stories.
No, it's cool. It'll come back. It'll come back, don't worry. So on the topic of money, one thing that you discuss about is high interest saving accounts. And to me, I'm an extreme saver, and once again, that's come from.
I remember.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry. So for the we can cut with that.
Yeah, we cut out for the second half.
For the second one, I think not looking at money as the goal when it comes to making money, but looking at like how can you give more value. And again, I think that's one of those like fluffy things that you hear a lot. But when you think from that perspective, like how can I serve better in whatever it is I'm doing, and what does the world value most, rather than trying to fight the market. So when you hear things like, and again, it's gonna be so triggering because I understand how frustrating it can be. My mum was a nurse and she was so hardworking. And then people would be like, why do footballers get paid more than the NHS? How much do you pay for season tickets?
Yeah.
And how much do you pay for your health?
Yeah. What do you expect?
It's just what the world values more. The world values entertainment more. The world values influencers more. The world values consumerism more than their health.
Yeah.
The market.
Yeah, you can't.
The world, people say, oh, how can a TikTok star get...
Well, that's what the
listen,
world values.
you turn your phone portrait and record, because we can't fight it. Like, and I won't say just do things because that's what makes money. But I think there's so many ways of making money. There's going to be one that aligns with you, rather than getting caught up in the vehicle that you thought was going to make the most sense, and you realize that, hold on, the world doesn't even value this at the same way. Like, I think the way that it was explained to me that just opened my eyes so much. Someone called Myron Golden, he's a Christian, and he speaks about like biblical principles of wealth, and he spoke about how like the lowest level of value, there's 4 levels of value, in the world when it comes to making money, and it's implementation, so the doers, unification, so people that manage the doers, communication, so people that can, like, speakers, artists, like people that can communicate something that wasn't kind of
value.
Communicate a message or something, and then imagination, so inventors. And it's like most of us are taught to be doers, and it's like if the world can only value that because at a certain amount, because it's going to be traded for your time, whereas the other ones can be multiplied. So it's just the way the world works, and it's like, rather than fighting it, work your way up the ladder. Because you might start as a doer, and that can give you the skills.
You can always
to be a manager. You can. And then as you become a manager, so content creation would be something on the communication level, which is why you see people making content make so much money. And you might think that's unfair, but it's just the world values good communicators better than they do implementers, because that is a commodity. Like, you can outsource that. You can get it's a lot more replaceable. It's harder to replace imagination.
Oh, definitely.
Hard to replace even a good communicator. Being able to speak is not easy. Being on camera is
it's not easy.
It's a skill set, and even being a manager. But it just keeps getting easier. And then implementers, you can just train anyone straight out of uni, and most of the time they can do it. So it's just the way the world works, and we can fight it. We can join it.
It's true. You're absolutely
get on TikTok. Start creating content.
Yeah, don't. I wouldn't suggest joining that. You'll be getting that 90p.
No, bro.
Don't join that. No, you don't want to be doing that. You talk a lot about high interest savings accounts, and like I was saying, I'm somebody I'm an extreme saver, but I never, it came from a scarcity mindset. Okay. So it was coming from a place where, like, oh my gosh, I need to save this because I'm not going to have it. So that's where it's coming from. And I've realized that was not the most healthy thing to do. But in terms of high interest savings account, I don't think I was saving my money in a high interest savings account. So I know what it is, but to the viewers and the women out there, what is a high interest savings account, and what is the benefits of actually saving in one
Yeah.
than a regular saver account.
Yeah. So a high interest savings account is just like any savings account that has an interest rate that is higher than the average.
Mm-hmm.
And interest is just like the money the bank gives you on top of whatever you leave in there. And every bank will have their own rules as to whether they pay that monthly or yearly. And some banks might make it so that you have to leave your money locked for a certain period of time. But
Yeah.
I think for people that just have like a emergency fund of some sort, if you can find an easy access high yield savings account, the money is just going to be sitting there anyway. Just go collect your 5% on top.
Yeah.
Because if the money's just sitting there year over year, compounding is like one of the
Biggest
things.
way.
Yeah, it's one of the things in building wealth that even as a habit, starting to think from a compound perspective is just going to serve you so well in the future. So even though it might sound like, okay, I'm only getting £30 extra on what I'm saving, the idea that it does build, and the idea that you're thinking from a perspective of how can I just have my money working for me, that is just a great thing. I don't think you should keep all the money that you save in a high yield savings account, because most of the time it's still less than inflation, so it's still like losing value over time. But you need to have an emergency fund that you can access at any time, and so I think you might as well collect interest on it. Yeah.
So in what ways have you invested financially for your future, in terms of, have you invested in like NFTs? Is that what this was?
Yeah.
I don't know if I was making that up. Or like what investments have you made? Whereas like, you can't see the money now, but in the future you will definitely.
Yeah, so I did have my little crypto phase.
Oh, okay.
And I withdrew very quickly. When I don't even remember the time when
everybody was jumping on it.
Literally things were going up by like 100x.
Yeah.
No joke. But what I realized, and this is a lesson I'm going to learn I'm going to keep with me for life when it comes to my approach to money, is someone called Alex Omozi, he said something like, any belief you have, ask yourself, what is the net outcome of believing that thing? So every time it serves you, minus every time it doesn't serve you, is that, are you going to be left with a positive or negative result? So investing in something that you don't understand, it might work this time, but if you keep doing that, the net outcome of that is probably going to be negative. And I do not understand crypto. I had a friend who didn't understand crypto, but he had a mentor that understood crypto. So I was listening to my friend who was listening to his mentor, and that's how I was investing.
Chinese whispers.
Yeah, literally. And I was like, what is the net outcome of doing that?
Yeah.
Because I don't know that person personally. I don't even know my friend's goals per se. I just heard 100 what?
Yeah.
100 Tell me where to transfer and how to transfer it. And I was literally just, every day it would be like, get this coin. I said, what? Drop anything. COVID was a messy time.
Yeah.
I think I was going for a breakup. This is what I was doing. Self-development and crypto. Yeah. Mess. But yeah, it was just like, but I just realized that what is the net outcome of doing that? Not great. So I just stay away from things I do not understand. Very simple now. All I have is stocks and shares, ISA.
Good. Yeah.
And I invest in myself and learning. And
investing in yourself is like the best.
I know it sounds so like intangible, but I cannot stress the amount, everything, the business, content, everything, like contracting now has come as a result of me investing in myself. Like my earnings take home have gone up so much just because of what I've invested in myself. And it's not as direct and straightforward. Like I can't tell you the interest rate you'll get. I can't say the ROI exactly it will be, but you're the only person who has to wake up every day and live your life. Like you might as well make some money while you're doing it.
Yeah, you might as well.
So I think investing in your earning potential, especially when you're younger.
Yes.
And you have like less responsibility.
When you say that, do you mean like investing in learning high income skills?
Yes, especially investing in learning a high income skill. I did do other things that I think really helped. Like I said about having a life coach. I think
that was a lot of people getting coaches.
When you have a good coach was really something, and that just changed the way I thought with everything. Wow. So pretty much everything about the way I show up, the way I think, the way I approach, like just mastering my mind, I'll say a good like 60-70% come from working with that life coach. Yeah, it was so impactful. Even like investing in a better gym. made a massive difference.
Yeah.
Made a massive difference. Or even if it was a gym, like I used to go to a gym that wasn't even great. It was overpriced, but it was so close to my house.
Yeah.
So I went a lot more often.
That's
and
what I'm doing right now.
And
it's
just
not
like,
it. I'm going to like a leisure centre gym and I'm thinking, why am I in the changing room with like little, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get you. It's not. And
I'm
I
seeing
went to a
bare
gym
kids running around and I'm just like, what am I doing here?
but you go more consistently, right?
Because it's next to my house. Yeah.
Like just things. So there's investments like that. But I think if you really just want to focus on like what absolutely like definitely is going to make more money, investing in learning a high income skill.
Yeah.
Especially in today's day and age where the world is just becoming slowly but surely more switched on to the needs of these high income skills. Like when I talk to brands, like doing brand deals and stuff, and like there's so much they just don't know about social media and content creation. And it's like this in itself is a high income skill that even these brands with massive budgets, they'll just quickly just outsource understanding it because they just don't even have the capacity.
They don't have the capacity.
So you just need to be there like, hey.
Yeah.
I got this.
Yeah.
And there are people with money that just don't even want to learn it. Trust me, especially like people that maybe later in their careers, people that have businesses. So even if you're not working with a massive organization or a brand deal, like I said, when I used to freelance, sometimes these were kind of smaller organizations, but they just don't have the mental capacity to do these things or to think about these things. So just be there.
Monetizing on your skills is definitely
100%.
One way you can really invest in yourself and reap so much benefits doing that too.
Yeah.
So definitely. So you talk about having a business. If I remember, was it Nubian Crown?
Nubian's Crown.
Yeah. So in terms of the finances for the business, what are things that you had to learn? Did you already know about like taxes and accounting?
No.
How did you kind of navigate that?
This is a lot. That was like my least favorite thing about running a business till date. Oh gosh, no.
Yeah.
I really didn't like it. I think understanding that it's a very different ball game. Business finances is not your personal finances. It's not about opening high yield savings account. Like there's a lot more that goes into it, especially when you open a
and you register your business.
Yeah. Which not everyone does. Not everyone has to, but if you do, it's gonna come with a whole nother ball game.
Yeah.
And you start, if you get to a certain amount, you have to pay VAT, and you have to pay. And I was importing and exporting, so there was all these other complications. I was selling in different currencies. Get an accountant.
Yeah.
So that's all I have to say. Get an accountant. Like if you're not inclined that way, it's so the attention to detail as well you need to have. Running a business comes with so many things that I can't imagine anyone that runs a business. Normally people run a business and start a business because they're passionate about the product.
Yeah.
Passionate about the customers they're serving. I've never heard someone starting a business because they're passionate about the accounting.
Yeah.
Get an accountant. There's so many like different ways of it being even more affordable.
Yeah.
Yeah, just get
there's like softwares now, like
QuickBooks
and
so most accountants they just put you on QuickBooks, so it doesn't even have to be like a crazy expense. Yeah.
I'm 28 years old in a stable job, earning good money, but I can't seem to shake off this persistent feeling that I'm falling behind in life and I'm not where I'm meant to be. It's like everyone around me, friends, family, and even online is moving forward, making money moves, getting married, or achieving big milestones. But all of this seems far-fetched for me. My career is stable, earn a good amount of money, but I just don't feel comfortable where I'm at in my personal life. My friends are celebrating engagements, weddings, and buying houses. This consistent comparison has become a heavy weight on my shoulders. I find myself questioning every decision I've made, like I'm on the right path. Like, am I on the right path? Or should I have accomplished more by now? The social pressure to control a predetermined timeline adds to my anxiety, making me wonder if I can catch up. I'm reaching out for advice as I'm always in my head. That's heavy.
It's heavy, but I feel it definitely. Like at 28 as well, I'm the same age. And everyone's getting married.
Yeah.
I do see it. And sometimes you get those feelings of like, bruh, what's going on? I think like
what we were saying is separating feelings to facts.
Yeah. Like who says that? Who told you that there's a timeline?
Exactly.
Again, it's made up.
It's made up.
It's 100% made up.
Yeah. So I think I think she's already established that it's a predetermined.
Yeah. It's something that she kind of knows that it's what's happening. She knows that the comparison's there. She knows it's not healthy. But I guess it's kind of like on a day to day. How do you actively get out of that headspace? I would say that as much as it is like not comparing yourself and not kind of getting attached to timelines that anyone's just made up. If there's anything in your control to change those things, because you're very much allowed to want to get married, you're allowed to want to buy a house, but is there any removals, any healing that needs to be done in those spaces as to why you haven't got there? Is there any environment you can go into? Are you settling in any way of your life that's stopping you from getting those things? So I think it's just getting to that realization that like what's in our control is in our control, and what's not is not. So if there is anything in your control, I would say that you can do that. Like, I realized a long time ago, I will never complain about my dating life because I don't leave my house. So what can I say? Like,
it's true. Like, if you never leave your house, how do you then expect to meet new people? So what can you control, and how can you make the situation better? And also, how can you reframe it in a more positive so the way I would say it is, all right, you've got some free time. How can I then better myself if there's room for that? Now that you've got this time, because who's to say that you're never going to get married?
Exactly.
And you've got this room time now. How can you start making preparations
100%
for that?
I love that.
Yeah.
Even with like the buying the house, you said you've got a stable job. How
Are
can
you
use
saving
that?
for the
Yeah, exactly. How can you use that stability in your favor?
Mm-hmm.
This is probably a good time to start putting something in place to like doubling down on your savings.
Exactly.
Like you said. Yes, it's kind of like what is in your control.
Yeah, and work for that. That's what I would say, really.
Yeah, no, I like that.
Yeah. The second one is, I feel like I can resonate with this one. My dream job has become a bit of a bittersweet reality. I've worked tirelessly as a Black woman to climb the ranks and really prove myself. I find myself feeling stuck and overlooked for the significant opportunities I really want. Recently, I applied for more senior role, a position I feel ready for, only to be told I lack the necessary experience. Been there. Even though I have evidently shown and done everything I needed to get this new role. The twist is they've appointed a less experienced white colleague.
Knew that was coming. I knew it.
Who hasn't achieved or met half the targets I have. And to add to the frustration, I've been tasked with training her. It's disheartening to my efforts into this company. Despite the overwork and the sense of stagnation, is that a word?
Yeah.
Stagnation. Leaving this job isn't a straightforward decision. It's my dream job. After all, the thought of walking away from a position I've worked so hard for to attain is daunting. However, the blatant favoritism and feeling continually, I can't pronounce that word, feeling continually overlooked leave me questioning whether I should continue to invest my time and energy here. Should I leave knowing there's uncertainty, as finding another job is really hard in this economy right now? Or do I endure the frustrations, hoping for a change in the future?
Damn.
Leave.
You think leave? Do you know what? Yeah, I would say that like when it comes to leaving cold turkey, you have to kind of know yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you're saying that there's leave in this, if you're already saying like in this economy where there's no jobs, you're already like
putting yourself in that box.
Yeah, you're putting yourself in a mindset where it's like you're not really expecting greatness to come from it. And that's where you're going to end up just being anxious and regretting it and thinking I made the wrong choice. And you don't even have the mental space to create a new reality and really put yourself out there if that's how you're thinking. So I would say like if you are going to quit, like you have to kind of get into that mindset of like, listen, everyone's been saying
economy will always be there, you know what I mean? It would always be bad.
England
to go down.
You can't remember that the culture of this country is to complain. People say, what's British culture? Oh, complain. How can you have a culture of complaining? So anything that's wrong is going to be advertised, publicized, and widely spoken about. You just got to remember, like, if it's not conducive with where you want to go, I really wouldn't dwell on it. And if you just genuinely believe it's a fact, then don't act. I would say not to act on. I would say not to leave. If you genuinely think the economy is that bad, I would say just don't leave, because the anxiety that comes after you leave your job, I think even if you have like a good mindset, it can be very daunting. Very, very daunting. I can't imagine also feeling like the economy was gonna stop me because
it's a lot.
I was already struggling
Yeah.
mentally, and I still felt like the economy was. I wasn't involved. The
Yeah.
economy is doing what the economy has been doing. It can go up, it can go down. It will always
It would
happen.
always
Yeah.
happen.
And I think the thing that reached out with me, Black women at work, we need to document everything. It's such a shame, but we have to, like, more than anyone else. Sometimes I think you have to go with
like you
GoPro.
have to prove that you've done the work.
100%, because people will be like, amnesia.
I don't remember.
When it comes to you, honestly,
I don't remember this. Your 1-to-1, you said well done to this, or you achieved this. I don't remember saying
literally,
that. That's how it is going to.
We actually have to document everything,
and when you document it, put the proof in.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, like, even bringing that forward to, like, conversations when you're negotiating, when you're appealing decisions, it's such a shame. It's such a shame that we have to be doing
all of this,
investigator, like private detective, but it's just the reality in a lot of companies anyway. Some people don't have to go through that, but I would always just say that document, because
everything.
How can you be training someone?
That's
so
even
rude.
Another topic. But then you also need to realize too, do they value you? But I'm sure in companies they do actually value their employees. But in this situation, if you applied for a job, you've shown the experience, you've demonstrated you can do it, and then they give it to somebody that's less experienced and then tell you to train. That's like a slap in the face to me.
Slap in the face.
Yeah,
I think if it's possible to just be looking for jobs while she's there,
then do it.
Yeah.
And you should also think that there's no opportunities out there. Already tell yourself that there is, and still apply.
Exactly.
And then, like I said, if you're meant to be in that place, it would happen anyway. 100%. And you can just use this as an experience for the next role. And it kind of tells you, I don't like this about this job. And I'm not going to have it for the next one.
So you know you're already
so use it as like a learning curve too. And definitely still apply. I wouldn't say stay because your mental health, but stay but apply at the same time.
Let life tell you no, rather than preempting a no, like we've just kind of done.
Let
life tell you there's no job. Let the economy really tell you there's no jobs. Let the facts tell you. Let the facts tell you. Yeah, not that. I remember when I started contracting, people were like, "Oh yeah, the contract market is so bad." 2 weeks, I got one. Yeah, I was just like, I'm not involved. I'm involved in the economy. Yeah, okay, leave me alone. Do its own thing. Literally, your own. Go away. Literally, yeah. It's yeah, crazy. The moral today: everyone's making things up.
Literally, and that's to sum it up. Everybody's making things up, and you just decide your own story and make things up for yourself.
Make your own narrative.
Exactly, make up your own narrative. Honestly, yeah. But that's the end. Thank you so much. I feel like you've dropped so much gems. I've definitely learned so much, and there's so much I'm gonna take from this. And I know there's a lot of like Black women out there that's gonna take a lot from this too. So thank you for sharing, and I hope we can also work together again more in the future, because 100%. There's so much value in you and everything that you do. So thank you so much.
You're so easy to talk to as well. You're doing a great job at this hosting.
Oh, thank you. I'll try it.